My decision to quit my job was final. After the breakup with Clara, there was nothing left for me in the city. I packed my bags, booked a one-way ticket, and prepared to start a new chapter of my life abroad. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Standing in the bustling airport terminal, amidst the chaos of announcements and rolling suitcases, I felt a sense of calm I hadn't experienced in years. And then suddenly, she was there. Clara, my ex-girlfriend and former boss, appeared with a few of our old colleagues, effectively cornering me near the security gate. She said she had fired her new assistant, and that from now on, I would be the second in command at the company, her right-hand man, just like it was supposed to be. For a moment, I let the fantasy play out. As I pretended to abandon my plans to leave the country and was about to head back with her, she abruptly let go of my hand. She pulled out her phone and, in a cloyingly sweet voice, called the assistant. "Daniel," she cooed, "you won the bet. This loser actually thought I'd take him back." She turned to me, her smile turning into a cold, sharp line. "Just kidding," she said. "You actually believed that? If you want to go, then go. Nobody's stopping you this time." The colleagues who had come with her erupted in laughter, looking at me as if I were a stray dog that had come running back at the snap of its owner's fingers, only to be kicked away again. What none of them knew was that my decision to give up the trip abroad wasn't for her. It was because the new company I was joining had just completed a takeover of hers, and I was about to become their new CEO. So, when Clara smugly informed me that her attempt to win me back was nothing more than a cruel joke, I felt no anger. I simply took out my phone and started booking a car to take me home. One of the colleagues jeered. "Leo, the CEO already said she doesn't want you. What are you waiting for? Go on and rebook that flight. Didn't you say you had a big offer abroad? What happened, they don't want you anymore either?" Clara watched them, a smirk playing on her lips, making no move to intervene. This kind of oppressive workplace bullying had been a constant cloud over me for the last few years. I used to argue back, feeling a deep sense of injustice and wondering why my own girlfriend, the head of the company, would never stand up for me. But now, I felt nothing. It was like watching a poorly rehearsed play. "That's my business, not yours," I said flatly. Clara let out a cold snort, her eyes raking over me with disdain. "Still trying to talk big," she scoffed. "With your abilities, if it wasn't for me taking care of you all these years, you'd probably be starving on the street. Going abroad? What a joke." It was almost laughable. I, a top graduate from a prestigious university, had turned down a high-paying job that my peers could only dream of, all to help her build her company from the ground up. And in Clara's eyes, I was nothing more than a charity case who relied on her handouts to survive. I once loved her with an intensity that consumed me. Even as I worked for a decade to become a manager, I had no complaints. My world began to crack when she started repeatedly taking credit for my projects, handing the successful results to her new assistant, Daniel. She even went as far as to blame his mistakes on me, making me the scapegoat for his incompetence. She used these fabricated incidents to cut my pay and suspend me from my duties, all while promoting Daniel and giving him a substantial raise. That was the moment I finally woke up and saw the toxic, one-sided reality of our relationship. I resigned on the spot and ended things with her, deciding it was time to finally pursue those opportunities overseas. I never expected her to pull a stunt like this at the airport. And yet, I wasn't upset. I was just profoundly puzzled. How could I have been so blind for so long to have loved such a woman? Shaking my head, I was done with words. "You're right. Can I go now?" I tried to sidestep her to leave, but she suddenly grabbed my arm, her grip firm. Her voice dripped with disdain. "Still putting on an act? Your excuse about going abroad is busted. I'm giving you one last chance for old time's sake. Come back with me, and I'll let you be Daniel's assistant." Seeing her put on that magnanimous air, I finally understood her true intentions. On the surface, it was a bet with Daniel to see if I would take the bait. But in reality, her goal was to keep me at the company, slaving away for her and her new favorite. Clara certainly had Daniel's future well planned, complete with promotions, pay raises, and a seasoned mentor to clean up his messes. Meanwhile, I was the one who had helped her build her dream from nothing, and she was ready to strip everything away from me without a second thought, all to pave the way for Daniel. I laughed coldly. "Daniel doesn't have the skills to deserve my help." Clara's face darkened instantly. "Leo, it seems I've spoiled you far too much over the years." Before she could finish her sentence, a figure approached from a distance. Clara's expression immediately softened as she went to greet him. Daniel. He was the only person in the company who dared to call her by her first name, a privilege even I was never granted. Daniel glanced at me and laughed. "See, I told you Leo was just bluffing about going abroad. He didn't leave after all." Clara shot me a look filled with contempt. "Some people just think too highly of themselves, believing the company can't function without them. Not like you, Daniel. You're skilled, yet you remain humble. If he misses an opportunity, so be it. Let's go." Daniel, however, tugged on Clara's arm, his voice taking on a pleading tone. "Clara, we can't leave just yet. Ever since Leo quit, my watch has been missing. It was a gift from my grandmother." As he spoke, he turned to me, his expression shifting to one of feigned earnestness. "Leo, would you please just return it to me?" Before I could even process the accusation, Clara was glaring at me, her voice sharp with anger. "Leo, you stole something?" As I started to deny it, she cut me off coldly. "Don't even try to deny it. Would Daniel falsely accuse you? You don't have a job now. Who knows if you wouldn't stoop to petty theft?" Then she ordered a few of the colleagues with her. "Open his suitcase. Check it." I stared at her in utter disbelief. After 10 years together, she knew my character, and yet she was willing to publicly have my luggage searched based on a baseless accusation from Daniel. When she made that mean-spirited joke, I didn't argue. But this was blatant bullying, and it finally ignited the anger I had been suppressing. It wasn't disappointment or heartbreak anymore. It was pure rage and disgust. "Stop!" I shouted. Daniel feigned innocence. "Leo, why are you getting so upset? Did you really take it?" Clara looked at me with even more contempt, signaling 2 men to hold me back as she ordered them. "Ignore him. Keep searching." Watching them spill the contents of my suitcase onto the floor, my private belongings scattered for everyone to see, I was furious. I screamed for airport security to intervene. The guards reluctantly stepped in, forcing them to stop. Daniel looked disappointed. "Didn't find it? Forget it. Let's not make it hard on Leo. He's already having a tough time." Clara shot me a piercing glance. "Looks like someone already stole it and sold it." Then her tone softened as she turned to Daniel. "It's okay, Daniel. I'll go with you to buy a new one." As she walked away, she gave me one last cold look. "Leo, don't come begging to me when you're out on the streets in the future." With that, she left with her group, and Daniel gave me a final, taunting smirk. I didn't say a word. I just smirked to myself. They had no idea that the company's biggest project was on the verge of collapse, and that the entire firm would soon be acquired. I had given up my trip abroad because the new parent company, a well-known international enterprise, had appointed me as the CEO of this new subsidiary. Years ago, back when I was about to graduate, they had given me an offer because of my excellent academic record. But Clara had persuaded me to stay and start a business with her, so I had turned it down. After I finally broke up with her, they immediately called and invited me to join them. Just as I was about to board the plane, I received another call informing me that their local subsidiary had decided to acquire the territory which included Clara's company, and that they wanted me to be the new CEO. After settling my luggage back at my apartment, I arranged a meeting with Mr. Harrison, the head of the local parent company branch. I arrived at the restaurant a little early, not expecting to see Clara and Daniel sitting at a nearby table, laughing together. They didn't notice me until I was right next to them. Clara paused mid-laugh, her expression shifting to one of irritation as she walked over. "Leo, why are you stalking me? You're like a piece of sticky plaster. Weren't you acting so tough at the airport? Are you regretting it already?" Before I could respond, Daniel chimed in cheerfully. "Clara, with so many people around, Leo probably couldn't bring himself to admit he was wrong." "How about this, Leo? Just apologize to Clara, and I'm sure she'll give you a job." Clara looked at me, pretending to be considering it. "Since Daniel is pleading for you, I suppose it's not impossible. Drink this entire bottle of wine, and I'll let you be my assistant's assistant," she said, pointing to a full bottle of red wine on her table. I had to stop myself from laughing out loud. Clara knew perfectly well that I had a stomach condition and couldn't drink alcohol. She was simply playing games, trying to force me to submit. She had miscalculated badly. "I'm waiting for someone," I said simply. "Waiting for someone? Ha!" Clara sneered. "I've known you for years, Leo. Don't think I don't know your little tricks. You just think it's beneath you to be Daniel's assistant. But in this day and age, what is pride even worth?" Just then, Mr. Harrison arrived. "Leo, my apologies for keeping you waiting," he said, extending his hand. I ignored Clara completely and shook his hand. "Not at all. Shall we talk inside? There are too many flies buzzing around out here." "Of course," he replied. Clara looked at me, her face a mask of incredulity. As I was about to head to the private room with Mr. Harrison, I heard Daniel say to Clara, "Looks like Leo is meeting with a headhunter." A moment later, Clara stepped in front of me, sneering. "So, you'd rather go job hunting than beg me for a job? Just so you know, given your past performance reviews, I've already told everyone in the industry not to hire you. Do you regret it yet?" She looked at me, clearly expecting me to come crawling back. She was wrong. Clara didn't have the power to threaten me anymore, especially since Daniel's mismanagement of major projects had driven the company to the brink of bankruptcy without her even realizing it. I calmly replied, "Clara, confidence is a good thing, but when your company is acquired in bankruptcy, I hope you can maintain that same attitude." "Leo, you—" she spat, before turning her attention to Mr. Harrison. She handed him her business card, arrogantly stating, "President of the Clara Group. Leo was a former employee of mine with a poor work ethic. Just fired him. I would advise you to be cautious in hiring him." After throwing me a triumphant look, she left with Daniel. Mr. Harrison frowned at the card in his hand. "Just a clown," I said with a smile. He tossed her card into a nearby trash can, and we proceeded to discuss the final details of acquiring her company, focusing on how to leverage the project crisis to take them over at a low cost. He then brought out an original employee list for me to revise. Knowing each person's skills and work ethic, I agreed to get it done quickly. That evening, I went home, only to find Clara sitting on my couch, legs crossed, staring at me coldly. I frowned. "What are you doing here?" I glanced at the door lock, realizing with a pang of annoyance that I had forgotten to remove her fingerprint access after we broke up. She didn't answer my question, instead snapping, "Who told you my company was going bankrupt?" I walked past her to change my shoes, ignoring her. Her voice grew more irritated. "Just like you wanted, the company has gone under." I raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised by Mr. Harrison's efficiency. It had all happened in a single afternoon. Clara continued, "Even though I don't know how you found out, don't start celebrating too soon. The buyer will fix all the past issues, and I'll be staying on in a management role." I remained unfazed, since I already knew the existing staff were being kept on until I finalized the new structure. I asked nonchalantly. So? Clara glared. Give Daniel your previous client contacts, and I'll find you a manager position in the new company. You need to understand, with support from the head office, the group is only going to get stronger. I'm giving you your old managerial position back. That's quite a valuable offer. I suddenly laughed. She said it with such confidence, as if she were bestowing some great favor upon me. But I knew the truth. As soon as the company was acquired, Mr. Harrison had released my development plans, one of which stated that all new positions would be granted based on merit. The only reason Clara wanted me back was to leverage my old client resources so that Daniel could use them to prove his worth and secure a vice president spot for himself. I had to admit, her devotion to him ran deep. It was just a shame she had bet on the wrong horse. Clara, you're quite naive, I said. My words made her face fall, and she abruptly stood up, walking toward me step by step. She looked at me with those familiar, intense eyes, as if she could see right through me. Leo, I know you're still jealous of Daniel. You're upset about why my feelings for you changed, while I treat him so well. But I hope you understand that we're not equals anymore. I'm the boss, the capitalist. You're just an employee. A boyfriend like you doesn't match my status anymore. But Daniel, he brings me a new kind of excitement. He makes me feel like a woman again. You can't compare to him. She looked deep into my eyes, her voice becoming unusually gentle. I'll give you just one night to think it over. With that, she turned and left. I shook my head, a feeling of resignation washing over me. I immediately went to the door and deleted her fingerprint from the system. Then, I opened my computer and sent over the finalized layoff list for the next day. The next morning, I officially began my first day at the new company. As I entered the office, my former colleagues were all buzzing about the acquisition. True to form, Clara was standing at the center of it all, painting a rosy picture for everyone. She assured them that she would still be on the management team, and that as long as everyone worked hard, their positions were secure. Then, someone noticed me. Clara's eyes lit up, and she walked over to me with a smug tone, as if she had been expecting me all along. Changed your mind? Ready to give Daniel those client files? I just chuckled and shook my head. Clara's face turned serious, and she was about to say something when Daniel jumped in with a laugh. Leo, what's with the attitude? If you're not going to hand over the client info, then why are you even here? Don't tell me you came to work. His words sent the others into a fit of laughter. I raised an eyebrow and nodded. Yes, I'm just here to work. That made them laugh even harder. Work? More like looking for a job. Our company has been bought out, in your dreams, Leo. Weren't you going abroad? Why are you applying for a job here now? I was about to reply, but Clara cut me off harshly. Leo, are you done yet? I already gave you a chance. Just hand the client files to Daniel. Why are you being so stubborn? Didn't you understand anything I said to you yesterday? Do you actually enjoy being jobless? I shook my head, feeling a sense of helplessness for her. Clara, the one who's about to be jobless is you. You should really start planning ahead. Clara looked at me and suddenly burst out into derisive laughter. Look at this. Leo must have gone mad telling me to plan ahead. Come on. I was the former boss of this company. And you think you can fire me, Leo? Do you seriously think I can't stop you from getting even a janitorial job in this city? No sooner had she finished her tirade than two men in sharp suits appeared at the entrance. They were the representatives Mr. Harrison had sent to help me with the restructuring. Recognizing them, Clara's face shifted. She quickly plastered on a smile and approached them. Mike, you're here. Have you seen our new president yet? I'd like to extend a warm welcome. Mike glanced at her, said nothing, and came straight to me, nodding respectfully. Then he turned and introduced me to everyone in the room. This is our company's new president, Leo. In that single moment, Clara's confident smile froze on her face. She couldn't help but ask Mike, her voice trembling slightly. "Is this some kind of joke? This is Leo. He's just a useless nobody. How could he possibly—" Mike pulled out the layoff list I had personally prepared the day before and slapped it onto the desk in front of her. Pointing directly at her and Daniel, he said coldly, "You two are fired. Pack your things and get out." Clara picked up the list in disbelief. After reading it, her face turned deathly pale. She stared at me, her voice shaking. "How could this be? Leo, how are you the president? Are you joking with me?" Mike frowned impatiently at her. "Kidding? Why would he joke with you? Leo is a top talent personally selected by our headquarters, sent here specifically to be the new president. I know he was your former employee, but it's a pity you were too blind to see his worth." His words left Clara utterly speechless. Even the former colleagues who had been watching from the sidelines looked at me with stunned faces. Who would have ever thought that the person they once bullied and mocked at work would suddenly become their new boss? In an instant, people snapped out of their shock and rushed over to shake my hand. "Leo! President Leo! I didn't mean anything I said earlier. I'm so sorry. It was Clara who made us put you down." "Yeah, Leo, I've always thought you were the most capable person here." They all started flattering and apologizing, with no trace of the ugly attitudes they had displayed just moments before. Of course, I knew they were just scared I would fire them too. Jobs weren't easy to come by these days. But I wasn't going to do that, not yet. It would look like I was using my newfound power for personal revenge. Even layoffs required a reasonable and legal basis to minimize company losses. As for Clara and Daniel, they were at the top of this rotten heap, and they had to leave immediately. Facing a situation she could no longer control, Clara panicked. She looked at me, then suddenly rushed forward, pushing others aside to grab my hand tightly. Her voice became soft and helpless. "Leo, how could you be so cruel to me? I'm your girlfriend. I've been by your side for 10 years, and I truly love you. If it wasn't for me, you might not have become the CEO today. Can't we just make up, please?" Looking into her eager, pleading eyes, I suddenly thought back to the time I had accidentally made our relationship public. She had been furious with me. Once our relationship was out in the open and we could no longer hide it, she went so far as to ban any discussion of us at the company and even docked all of my bonuses and incentives for that month just to appear impartial. Now, seeing her publicly beg for us to reconcile, it was clear she was truly desperate. I smirked cynically. "Clara, honestly, do you really think that's possible?" The answer was obvious without me even needing to say it. Everyone, including her, knew the answer. The grievances I had endured at this company could justify firing her 1,000 times over. There was no chance of reconciliation, especially with Daniel still in the picture. Clara grew anxious. She glanced nervously at Daniel before blurting out, "Leo, everything in the past was my fault because you spoiled me. I had no boundaries. I'll change. I'll slowly change if you just let me stay. Fire Daniel instead. He's the one who was always taking credit for your work and bad-mouthing you to me. It's all his fault." Then, she glared at Daniel and yelled, "Daniel, why are you still standing there? Aren't you leaving? Leo took the fall for your mistakes last time. How many projects have you completely ruined since he left? You're a total failure. Get out!" Everyone was stunned by her sudden outburst, even Daniel. His lips quivered and his eyes turned red with disbelief and hurt. "Clara, you—" "Shut up! Why are you calling me Clara? Am I your sister? I'm your boss!" she spat, giving him no mercy. Watching this drama unfold, I was surprised, but not entirely shocked. Clara had always been incredibly self-centered, her own interests being the only thing that ever mattered to her. Now, facing pressure from me, she was ready to ditch Daniel without a second thought. "Leo, do you see my sincerity now? she pleaded, her beautiful eyes brimming with tears. "I've always loved you. I can't be fired. This company is our baby, our hard work. You can't just leave me." A few years ago, I would have surrendered to her wishes. But now, I just said coldly, "Both of you get out. I'm not going to say it a third time. It's working hours, and I won't waste any more of it on this personal nonsense." Within moments, security guards moved in, dragging a protesting Clara and a stunned Daniel out of the office. Colleagues quickly gathered their belongings and tossed them out onto the street after them. After dealing with those two headaches, I felt a sense of peace. "Everyone, get back to your desks. I want this quarter's task reports on my desk by lunchtime." After organizing the team, I headed back to my new office. It had originally belonged to Clara, but the staff had already cleared out her things. I wasn't interested in using anything she left behind anyway, so I placed an order online for a complete set of new office supplies. Just as noon approached, a colleague knocked and slipped into my office. "Boss, there's a scene happening at the entrance. You might want to see this." He handed me his phone, which was playing a video. Watching it, I saw Clara and Daniel being dragged out by security. Daniel was furious, demanding to know why she had turned on him so viciously. Clara, switching from her earlier selfish tone, touched his face gently and whispered, "I had no choice. Between the two of us, one had to stay behind to save the other. Who knew Leo would be so ungrateful?" Daniel, though still hurt, seemed to soften. "Clara, do you really mean that?" She kissed him lightly. "Of course. Now be good and go home first. I'll think of something." Daniel then pinned her against the wall and kissed her deeply before finally agreeing to leave. The video ended there. The colleague whispered, "Boss, you have to be careful with Clara. She betrayed you a long time ago." He explained that he couldn't say anything while she was in charge, but the affair with Daniel had been going on for at least 3 years. I didn't know what to feel. The whole thing was just absurd. All those years of love. What had I really been in love with? I dismissed him and tried to refocus on my work. That evening, as I was coming home, I was suddenly embraced from behind. Hot breath ghosted against my face. "Leo?" a woman's soft voice whispered, as hands roamed over my body, pushing me inside my apartment. I switched on the light and pushed her away. It was Clara, standing there looking hurt. "Leo, what are you doing?" I felt nothing but disgust. Just yesterday, at this same hour, she had been sitting on my sofa, imperiously demanding my client information, as if she still ruled my world. Now she was resorting to seduction. How many different faces did this woman have that I still hadn't seen? "Get lost," I said. Clara, however, latched onto me once more. "I won't. Leo, can you really let go of me? I love you. I gave you my entire youth. You can't be this heartless. You're just jealous of Daniel, aren't you? I already ditched him, so why are you still being like this?" If I hadn't seen that video at noon, I might have actually believed her performance. Of course, I had no intention of ever getting back together with her, but at this point, I wouldn't have been surprised by anything she did. "Clara, we broke up. Can you please stop pestering me?" I said, holding back my anger. She began to cry even harder. "Have you forgotten the promises you made to me? You said you would love me forever. Remember, Leo? Forgive me just this once." "Just once," she pleaded, pulling a small box from her pocket. Inside was an exquisite watch. She looked at me earnestly. "This watch is custom-made. I never gave it to Daniel. I'm giving it to you. You're the only man for me." The sight of the watch brought back the vivid memory of her having people hold me down and forcibly search my suitcase at the airport. My face instantly turned to ice. I'll say it again, get lost. Clara looked at me, shocked and a little angry. She snatched the watch away and snapped, "Leo, just you wait!" Then she stormed off in a fury. I didn't hear from Clara for the next few days. Meanwhile, my company was up and running smoothly, thanks to the full support from headquarters. I also hired some competent new staff to handle business matters, letting go of the former colleagues who were lazy and unproductive. That day, right after a morning meeting, my phone rang. It was Daniel. As soon as I picked up, he started yelling, "Leo, where is Clara? What did you do to her? She's had her phone off and hasn't replied to my messages for days, you bastard!" I furrowed my brow and responded coldly, "Are you some kind of mad dog, just barking at anyone? I don't know where Clara is." He immediately denied it. "That's a lie! Clara went to see you and never came back. If you don't come clean, I'm calling the cops." He hung up after that. I didn't bother with him. Even if the police did get involved, it had nothing to do with me. But Mike, who had come in to report on his work, overheard the call and couldn't help but mention, "I last saw Clara with Mr. Harrison. They seem to be getting pretty close." I frowned. Mr. Harrison was the liaison sent by the headquarters. Why would Clara be involved with him? Before I could ask, Mike clarified. "Clara has been trying to seduce Mr. Harrison. They've been seen together frequently lately. Mike even sent me a video of them having an intimate dinner together, expressing his concern. I'm not sure if Clara has some other plans for the company. Mr. Harrison ran the domestic branch, while my authority came from the overseas branch, which made things potentially tricky." I nodded, acknowledging the information, and forwarded the video to Daniel. He was so worried about Clara, wasn't he? Let him see for himself how she'd been cozying up to someone else. That night, the drama unfolded spectacularly. After a long discussion with Mike over a nearby project, we were heading out to get something to eat when we saw a commotion on the street. It was Clara, being dragged out of a high-end restaurant by her hair by an elegantly dressed middle-aged woman. Her stylish clothes were in tatters, and a small audience had already gathered, snapping photos with their phones. Mr. Harrison was nowhere to be seen. "You homewrecker!" the woman screamed. "Seducing my husband! You whore, who do you think you are? You're just a fling. What more could you possibly want? Get out!" As a battered and bruised Clara struggled to her feet, she spotted Daniel in the crowd and immediately launched into a tirade. "Daniel, this is all your fault. Have you not ruined my life enough? I finally got with Harrison and you had to stab me in the back." Daniel, his face twisted with rage, slapped her hard across the face. "And you dare to blame me? You told me you were going to ask Leo for assistance, and now I find you with some old man? I called you so many times I practically begged people to help me find you, and you betrayed me." Bleeding from her lip, Clara glared at Daniel and lunged at him, clawing at his face. "If it wasn't for you, would Leo have ever broken up with me? You're just a kept man. Who I sleep with is none of your business. We were just a fling. Did you really think you were my man?" Clara, having practiced boxing with me for 2 years, attacked Daniel with a surprising fury. Under her vicious blows and humiliating words, he finally snapped and lashed out, punching her repeatedly. The scene was oddly satisfying to watch, a perfect dog-eat-dog drama. Eventually, the police arrived, separating the two of them and taking them away, dispersing the crowd. A week later, Clara was released, while Daniel remained in detention. Their story held no interest for me until a month later at a business collaboration event. There, I saw her again. Clara was clinging to an older man's arm, acting every bit the lady of the house. It wasn't Mr. Harrison, but a man named John, a potential business partner for my company. "Fancy meeting you here, Leo," she taunted. "I heard you're interested in my husband's new project. If you kneel down and beg me, maybe I'll consider putting in a good word for you." I just frowned at her. Gina still looked stunning, but she now carried an indescribable, predatory allure. She eyed me haughtily, just like she used to when she had me wrapped around her finger. I ignored her completely. I had heard from a friend that Clara had managed to win over John in just 1 week. I thought it was suspicious. John was well known in the industry as someone who was all about profit. Given his age, experience, and social status, he had seen all kinds of women. Why would he suddenly fall for Clara? I had someone look into it, and sure enough, there was something shady going on. After Clara got involved with John, his company quickly managed to snag several large projects. These were the same projects that had originally been in negotiations with Mr. Harrison's branch. With a little more digging, I discovered that Clara had stolen trade secrets from Mr. Harrison during their brief affair. She had used that information as leverage to make a deal with John. I wasn't going to let this slide. I gathered all the evidence and took it directly to court, suing Clara for corporate espionage and the theft of trade secrets. When Clara found out, she stormed into my office demanding answers. She was furious, shouting at the top of her lungs, "Leo, come out here! You lowlife! What did I ever do to you for you to screw me over like this? I must have been blind to ever get involved with such a disgusting man." When I came out of my office, she tried to push past security to get to me, but I just looked at her coldly. "Clara, you brought this on yourself. If you're truly innocent, why are you causing such a scene?" By now, the only thing I felt towards her was disgust and revulsion. What a selfish, ruthless woman. I had wasted 10 years of my life on her. "Get her out of here," I ordered, then turned and went back to my work. A week later, the court delivered its verdict. Clara was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Mr. Harrison, because of his connection to Clara and the security breach, was suspended by headquarters, and I was asked to take over his responsibilities as well. Coming out of the courthouse, just as I was about to get into my car, a limping figure approached me. It was Daniel. His once handsome face was now scruffy and worn, with a deep scar running down his cheek. I frowned, wondering if it was from the altercation with Clara on the street. "I'm sorry," he said. "These past few days in jail, I've done a lot of reflecting. Clara got what she deserved, and so did I. I wish you all the best." I was bewildered by his sudden apology. What was he getting at? Tears suddenly welled up in his eyes as he spoke, his voice choking with emotion. "I once loved her so much. I thought that by taking her from you, it meant I would have everything. It turns out I was just a fool." He finished speaking, chuckled bitterly, and then walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I never saw Daniel again after that. From time to time, Clara would send messages through people, hoping I would visit her in prison, saying she was lonely. I never bothered. We were strangers now. Her life had nothing to do with me anymore. 5 years later, I had led the company to multiply its market value several times over and was appointed as the head of all national operations. My career was thriving. I later heard from some mutual friends that Clara had been released from prison. She apparently had developed some mental health issues and was taken back to her hometown by her family, where she eventually got married and had children. My future continues to stretch out before me. For the rest of my life, I just want to live for myself,